Welcome everybody to another episode of That Is Scuffed, episode 38. As we are entering 2024, spring season has just started. We got football playoffs happening. We've got baseball season right around the corner. March Madness 2 months away. A lot of things going on. Welcome to 2024. My name is Justin Lee, here with Stephen Hayden, my partner on That Scuffed podcast. You don't know who we are, no idea where you've been, but welcome. We're about 30 episodes in. This is the 38th edition of what we've got for you guys. Spring season 2024, a big one coming around the corner. And we got week 1 results and everything like that. We're going to break down details is what we do on this show. And this is what we do. This is what we like to do. Steven, how are we doing today? And how are you feeling about this week?
We're doing good. Things have been I've been more revealing as we get into this year, second podcast of the year. Baseball season is just around the corner for me. We're starting this coming week. As we come along, you can see in the background, I got the Westcliff jersey over there, and I got the Westcliff jersey on right now. That's obviously the squad I play for a couple guys who used to formerly play in this league, but we're getting ready for that. We got all this going on. Things are starting up again in the throwing of the sports that throw the ball, whether it be wiffle ball or baseball. A lot of wiffle ball announcements going on around the country, and some stuff around here and locally. And then baseball is getting going for a lot of college guys. So things are starting to get a lot busier.
Certainly is, and we are finally entering that first week after Tuesday. As we're recording this, today is Saturday. A little bit of rain, a little bit of wetness. Not sure what this will entitle us to in week 2, but before we get to week 2 stuff, we obviously have to go back in time and talk about what happened in week 1. Prior details, though, talking about there are no longer Division 1, Division 2. They have been meshed together, and there are a couple new different rules and how we are approaching a single, bracket now instead of, talking about Division 1, Division 2 and playoff scenarios and such what. There's different ways this will work out exactly. And then obviously the Purple League is still here and sticking around. Just about 3 teams this season for the Purple League and 8 teams in total for what is being called the Orange League. So that is basically what's going to be discussed throughout much of our episodes on this podcast is between the Orange League now and the Purple League with their total of 3 teams. Now, the way this works is that the first 4 teams at the end of the season will have playoff implications for essentially Division 1 title. The bottom 4 teams will be entitled to Division 2 playoffs in that sense. That's pretty much how these are structured out. Steven, do you have any thoughts or anything you want to discuss in terms of what I just touched on, what we're looking forward to this spring season?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, top 4 seeds will be at the end of the year. That'll be competing for the D1 World Series, and then the 5 through 8 will be competing for the D2 World Series. So that's how that process is going to work for this season. It makes sense to do that at this time. The D1 and D2 would be a little bit barren. I know, especially like some of the D2 guys, they get to play more. They get to play a wider variety of teams. Last season it was just 4 teams in Division 2, so you're playing the same 3 teams over and over again. I mean, apart from you had 1 game versus a Division 1 opponent, or 2 in Macon Bush's case, but you get a more diverse round of opponents to go play. And it make things interesting as well, and it gives everybody an opportunity for this season to be able to make it to the playoffs and to be able to have a chance to win a title. But it should be interesting to see what happens with all this. Some stuff is already shaped out in an interesting way, but we'll talk more about that as we get along. But that's how it's kind of going to work. It's just going to be that fourth spot is going to be that last spot in Division 1, and that 5 spot will be that first spot in Division 2.
Yeah, it's a very interesting format that we have going on here. Very similar to how like the CIF does their high school football games, depending on how well you do in the season, or how good of a team you guys are. It depends where you guys are placed division wise in playoffs at the end of the season. This is somewhat typical of what that looks like, but obviously it depends on how well you do and where you fall. So equal opportunity for everybody to at least have a chance in the playoffs, including the Purple League, who also pretty much have the similar playoff rulings, and all three of those teams will also make playoffs at the end of the season as well. So bit different picture this season. Nobody's going to get officially eliminated until we get to playoffs. So once we get closer to that, obviously we love to do our playoff predictions from there, and then we just go on from there. But for the most part, a lot of new teams. Well, not new teams in general, but a lot of new faces on different teams. It looks like there's only one new team this season. Some teams have basically disappeared or have disbanded into other teams, or basically percolated into what other teams as well. We'll kind of touch on that a little bit as well. But let's start talking about a little bit about the Week 1 results, if that is okay with our audience. So,
well, they're not. They don't have an opinion, so
they can't speak on it.
They don't have a choice in this.
Well, anyways, welcome to Week 1. The first game on our Week 1 results that we've got here is the Avocabros and the OC Juicers. Avocabros, there were rumors that they may not have been coming back, but here they are, back in regular form. Same people as always. Lucas Sardo obviously leading the charge for this team. OC Juicers is almost the same build of players that they had a season ago. They also had, I believe, the rookie of the year last season as well, and also including a new guy who we have seen on the Shepherd's Pie, who was there last season. Nicholas Tone is now a part of the OC Juicers. This score, though, very close in their first inaugural game of the 2024 spring season. 7-6 was his final score. Avocabros get the first dub of the year.
Yeah, very close game to start things off. A very somewhat low-scoring game as well. Nicholas Tone has kind of gone into that starter role, that ace role for the OC Juicers, and I know him and Chad. When Chad French comes back, that could be a very interesting duo between the two of them. But overall, Avocabros did end up coming out on top this game. Just seemed like he got the hits when they needed to. But I think both of these teams could be an interesting fight, kind of being for somewhere in the middle of the standings right there. The OC Juicers, unfortunately, didn't get the best of this one, but they're right there, and it's good to see that they're continuing to improve from the previous year. But Avocabros ended up coming out with this one, some timely hitting when they need it, and then the pitching. Lucas Sardo and Daniel Lukac has continued to improve, so we'll talk more about them a little bit later as well. But overall, I think a very, very close game and a good way to start off the year.
A different look team with the OC Juicers. Obviously, you have Nicholas Tone in there, who also was a premier pitcher for Shepherd's Pie last season. We saw him in the playoffs. I don't know about premier. It looks like he'll be the premier one for the OC Juicers. Maybe not as like super premier, like ace premier, which is definitely a shot at Nick. So
good.
No one gives a crap.
We don't like Packers fans here.
I wasn't gonna say that. Love me, my Packers fan. Anyway, so
okay.
Moving on, though, we have the returning back-to-back World Series appearance team, the Trash Pandas, who ended up in the World Series last year, losing out to LA Wolves of OC twice in a row. And the OC Wolves of LA also returning with the same group of guys that they had a season ago. Looking to improve on what they did a season ago, missing out of the playoffs by one game. This time around, though, starting off the season not on a great note. Trash Pandas get away with this one, 12-1, a high-scoring game for the Trash Pandas. OC Wolves of LA downgraded to just one run in this.
Yeah, this one kind of got off to a bad start real quickly. Especially when you have a tournament like we did, like we talked about in the last podcast, where guys like James and I are pitching a whole lot fast pitch. You kind of need a break from the arm, and then you kind of need time to readjust and get back into the OC football style of play. And that first inning kind of proved to be the case for James Lee. Just couldn't get it out, and right away Trash Panda scored 7 against the OC Wolves in the first inning. In that point, it was kind of cruise control. James Lee home run did make it 12-1, but Trash Pandas continue to have the offense going as they normally do. With Mo Wright being back out there, just not the start the OC Wolves of LA we're looking for, but I think it's sometimes you just need to get back used to playing, especially with this style of play. I know a lot of those guys have been playing some other wiffle balls, so just a tough one for them, but not a super bad sign for the OC Wiffles. But Trash Pandas, this looks like a real good sign based off the way that they started, because I know they have lost to the OC Wiffles of LA once or twice before.
Yeah, we've seen that a few times as well, and including Andrew Swanson and Brian Workin were not present for this game, but who was present was somebody who was absent last season. That was Mo Wright. He just came back. If you don't know who that is, it's literally the one guy on their team that has the largest biceps out of everybody on that squad. We know him very well. He's another good name when it comes to pitching, so that is also very huge for the Trash Pandas in the long run if they want to continue to be that playoff contender that they have always been, and maybe even more, especially with him back now.
Yeah, it should be very interesting to see what his addition does back for the team. We'll talk more about it, but with some other changes, this could be the season for them. But we'll talk about it more little bit later after we get through all these games. And plus, Trash Panda's got another game. We'll talk about them more.
Yes, we shall. Now, this is the LA Wolves of OC's premier game, starting off the 2024 spring season, taking on the Avocabros, another opponent that they have seen many, many, many times before. Always a back-and-forth affair between these two teams. Unfortunately, this game was not able to be completed. This is labeled as TBC, which stands for to be continued. I believe this score was right at 2020, right when we ended this game between these two teams. So high scoring in all factors. I think the big factors here were just the difference in the fact that Jordan Drexler is not part of the LA Wolves of OC any longer. He is now a Beach City Bomber. Justin Lee took over the pitching duties for some innings, struggled a little bit. And the Avocabros have a surprise in this as well, in a guy named Nick Futris, who decided to explode with the bat in this game. I'm sure he did in the game that we talked about against the OC Juices earlier, but big factor in this one as well. But still, to be continued. Any thoughts about this game in general, Steven?
No, you just just went through everything, but this game only went through 5 innings, and it took about an hour 15 or so. I mean, it was just a very high offensive empowered game. 23-23 after 5 innings, which this week continued at a later date. Usually between these two teams, you have a couple lower scoring games. We've seen the 4-2 or the 7-4 in the past against these two teams, but both teams, the offense was going real good. We mentioned a little bit the OC Wolves of LA, but for me especially, between the fast pitch tournament and playing baseball, this game was really kind of an adjustment game for me to get back used to playing at this style. And Nick Fouchers made me pay for it. Had 3 home runs in a row off me to get things going. So a couple of those being 3-run home runs, and then overall, LA Wolves of OC were missing their projected starting second pitcher in Tommy Hernandez, but Justin Lee, Dominic Caroni really did struggle on the mound, find the strike zone. Luckily, Justin was able to keep it close at the end, but it's going to be very interesting to see when this game continues. Steven is out of innings, so it's going to have to rely on either guy like Justin Lee or Tommy Hernandez to be able to close this one out. But very, very exciting game overall in general. It's a fun game to have go on there. And those in terms of the standings and run differential and all that stuff, that's not being put into the standings because those games have not been played yet. But not been finished yet, I should say. But overall, very interesting game. We'll see how that one finishes out.
Yeah, we shall. That should be finished out a little bit later down the road, if not next week on Tuesday for week 2, if that comes to it. And hopefully, people we have on our squad will be present as well. Austin came in a little bit late. Know that Tommy wasn't present for that as well. So LA Wilson OC were just down to about 3 guys in this game. So wide open field for the batters of the Avocados in terms of on their offensive side. Myself had 2 strange hits that went down the line, basically hugging it on the right side. Eventually they figured it out. Had Harvey on the right field side to make another catch that was also hit to that right field side. So an interesting game to say the least, but obviously we won't know what exactly will happen once we get to the continuation of this game later on down that road. Well, moving on now, we got the OC Wolves of LA taking on another OC team, the OC Juicers. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the podcast, taking on the Avocados. OC Wolves of LA, obviously they lost against Trash Pandas. They're looking for a bounce back, and indeed they do. This is, basically a football score. 24-16 is the final score, and the OC Wolves of LA get away with their first win of the season. Maybe a little closer, higher scoring game than they thought it would be, but a win is a win.
Yeah, and just overall with this team, we're trying some stuff out and some different things that they might not normally do, with some certain pitching things, but the bats really got going here for the OC Wolves of LA, and I saw it going right away. A lot of home runs from guys like James Lee, Ethan Rathman, David Quiros, and stuff like that. Overall, just a lot of runs scored. It is something you do like to see. Sometimes those lower scoring games are extremely fun. Sometimes they're not as much, but Ethan Rathman led the way along here with 2 home runs in this game, and then Ethan Lee did contribute one as well. First time in a while, I guess, but
wow.
The OC Juicers are looking to and are still being better. They're getting better and better as the season goes as this goes on. So it's going to be very interesting to see how things shake out. That could be a real surprise to you, whether it be for the D2 or the D1 World Series at the end of the year, which both these teams could be. So it's going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, they certainly will be. And we'll see kind of where OC Juicers kind of land as the season goes, because obviously the competition's a lot more tough now. The fact that they have to play a lot of Division I teams. But the addition of Nicholas Tone, that may or may not create a difference there. But they have a couple of other guys that we saw last season that kind of helped them improve. They're kind of making a little late push at the very end as well when they were in the Division II bracket. But for sure, definitely something we got to keep an eye out for. OC Wolves of LA, Ethan Lee obviously leading the charge on the offensive side of things with a 500 average now, 7 hits, 1 home run. Obviously, the same other guys, James Lee, Ethan Raffin, contributing equally as well. The one thing that is going to be a huge factor for this season is definitely going to be if Evan and David can step up. They certainly did a little bit. David got 2 hits. Evan got 3 hits, so that certainly helps him out in that side of things. But obviously, the one glaring thing was definitely the pitching. Ethan Lee off to an 1.10 ERA to start off the season, 1 strikeout, 11 earned runs. Tough number of stats there to look at. But it is just the first week. Everyone's just trying to get readjusted. Obviously, Ethan Lee was part of one of the teams called the Master Batters that were at the SoCal Winter Wiffle Ball Classic. So I'm sure he's also getting somewhat adjusted back to this style of pitching as well, from a 45-foot mountain distance to 36 feet back to what OC Wiffle Ball is, and also including the speed limit being down to 62, obviously.
Yeah, might have to evolve a little bit of switching some things for this team if they want to be successful. This is a team that was talked about some off-season moves, and unfortunately things fell through, and people were not able to say yes to joining the OC Wolves of LA or the OC to make things work. But David Quiros did have a good couple innings on the mound. Maybe we'll see more of him on the mound as we get further into this, and maybe we'll see less of Ethan Lee, which is just something Ethan and James as the co-captains have got to figure out here. James is obviously going to be the main pitcher. He's got he's got his baseball season as well. He's a JV player at his high school, so he's not going to want to pitch a whole lot. So it's going to be up to Ethan or David to lock it in and figure it out and get things set for this season. If the OC Wolves want to have a successful season this year, which I think they absolutely can, I could see them pushing for that 3 or 4 spot, but it's just gonna be how they're gonna figure out the pitching. They got the hitting for it. And then for the OC Juicers as well, things are starting to look better and better. I can't wait to see what it looks like with Nicholas Todd and Chad French balancing off each other pitching wise. But it's going to be very interesting to see as the season goes on, and I know who their matchups are that they play in the future and stuff like that.
Yeah, like you said, Chad French is a name that's starting to rise up to the ranks now. Had a pretty good season last year. I know that was another rumor that maybe potentially another player to add to this squad or another squad. Especially if we were holding on to Division 1 in that regards, because he was playing in Division 2. But he's definitely coming up there. Definitely is a big piece of this team. Nicholas Tone is also another great piece. But obviously for OC Wiffles of LA, they're going to need Ethan Lee to definitely step up on that pitching side of things as much as the pressure is. But they were, one game away from getting to the playoffs last season. They just missed out after losing to Shepherd's Pie last season. And unfortunately, that's just how that circumstance goes in leagues like this. But definitely some good improvement to look forward to as we get through the season. And it is, once again, just still early in that regards. So we'll see what is going to be in store for our 2 fellow teams down there as well. Now, moving on to the next game, we get the debut of the new team, which is the Pitches Gone Wild. This makeup of a few guys that look like they are former players, or I want to say any sport, honestly. They look like they're a couple in-shape people there, taking on the Trash Pandas, a tough one to really kind of face up against because they literally just dominated the OC Wolves of LA. And exactly what they do to the Pitches Gone Wild is exactly what happens. A completely dominant game for the Trash Pandas, overtaking Pitches Gone Wild in a shutout, 16-0, the final score here against the new team, the Pitches Gone Wild.
A couple of fit people.
I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention. I just saw a few guys, and I was like, they were making some good efforts on some of these pop flies that were being hit when I was watching them. So I was like, oh, they got range.
Good
That's
Lord.
Cool, man. I ain't trying to hit
Good
on
Lord.
it, man.
Okay. Okay. I don't even know what to say. But
anyways, what's your thoughts here? Would you like to discuss a little bit further into this?
No, I'm gonna move on to the game, please.
That's what I was asking you. What's your thoughts about the game, not about the
I'm
guys?
getting there. I'm trying to figure. I'm trying to figure out this whole other point about. Good. Okay, what? I'm moving on. Okay. I mean, Trash Pandas are clearly establishing themselves as one of the top teams. They beat the OC Wolves of LA. But one guy off to an extremely hot start is Michael Hauskup. 14 at bats. He's got 11 hits with 6 of those mean home runs, was off to a stupid 786 average with an 833 on base percentage. I'm not sure how long that's. I think that's a little bit unrealistic to try to continue on for the rest of the season. But if he can continue hitting that way, and they continue to get some good hitting from the guys, from some of the guys who aren't there, I think this can be a really good team. For the pitches Gone Wild, that's a welcome to the league kind of moment. Just a group of guys just out here. They're figuring stuff out here. But we'll see more of them, and Justin can actually learn their names the next time that we're out there on next Tuesday.
I was looking at some of the names, and one of them came up as, and I am so sorry if I say this the wrong way, Raj Jobalia, I think, and then there's Marshall Kochczak, and then there's 2 brothers on this squad, Cody and Dylan Paningsoro. Those are the complicated ones I saw. So I was like, oh man, I gotta figure those out later on because there's no way I'm gonna be able to pronounce that properly every time I look at it. But yeah, obviously a welcome to the league kind of moment there. Obviously, it's a tough way to go out with things. It's when you play a team that is consistently in the playoffs almost every season, in a team like the Trash Pandas who have phenomenal pitching, especially with the return of Mo Wright, which was a huge re-addition to that team as well. And off to a great start. 10 Ks already so far, 0 ERA, no runs allowed so far, including Blake Fitzgerald. 1 run allowed though, but he's off to a 0.75 ERA to start off 2024, and 21 strikeouts already in just 2 games alone in this Week 1 performance that he had. So they are definitely going to be a contender for those Division 1 playoffs if they're able to remain as the top contender up there as well. Or wait. Well,
yeah, we'll see what happens with them. We'll talk more about it later. But the next game we got on here, we got usually somewhat of a staple for the first week of the regular season. I've had this one for 3 of the past 4 seasons now. At the Louisville C taking on the Beach City Bombers. Louisville C, as we mentioned, coming off their back-to-back World Series titles and their undefeated regular season in the winter of 2023. But that's all the pass as the Beach City Bombers take this one 6-1 over the Louisville C in the 8:30 game, and in a game that went by very quickly.
Yeah, it went by extremely fast. I know you have some feelings about this game that we'll touch on a little bit later. Obviously, the big news is Jordan Drexler being a part of this squad now with the Beach City Bombers. This game, not too much offense for the Louisville OC. I believe Steven had 1 home run. Justin had a single off of Tyler. Other than that, not too many hits in this game as well. And just a low-scoring game in general. Obviously, it is Week 1. We're missing another addition to our team, which is the projected number 2 pitcher in Tommy Hernandez, who's also actually a pretty good hitter if he's able to adjust to this style of play as well. But he'll be a big addition once he is able to make his debut in OC Wiffle Ball. And Beach City Bombers off to a pretty good start. They did not have Charlie present at that game, but they did indeed have Tyler Moore there. Obviously, Will Contrell has returned, and Jordan Drexler is the other addition to the squad just as well, including Will Contrell's wife, Shannon Contrell, was also a part of this as well. Also, nearly got a few hits as well in this game, but obviously, Beach City Bombers had the best of this first matchup of the season, but definitely won't be the last we see these two teams play each other this season.
Yeah, overall, this is an interesting one. Tyler Moore got things started off in the first inning with a solo home run, but after that, the game really kind of quieted down. Steven and Tyler were both dealing on the mound, throwing extremely well. I think I had 7 strikeouts in through 3 innings, and Tyler had 8 strikeouts through 3 innings. So both guys were dealing. After Tyler had his off the end of the bat home run, which is what seems to happen, but it is what it is. And then finally, Jordan Drexler does step up and get his first home run as a member of the Beach City Bombers. Obviously, he was a member of the Louisville C, which is a whole other discussion we've had on the 2 podcasts ago when it was live revealed to me. But we'll talk more about it a little bit. He was able to get his first home. He was able to get his first home run as a member of the Beach City Bombers after striking out in his 3 at bats and striking out 2 times later. And then the only other offense that was going on was Steven hitting a solo home run off of Jordan Drexler in the 5th inning. That was about all that happened with the game in general. Very low scoring game, pretty close game considering the fact that Louisville were missing. We're trying to figure out that second pitcher spot, but it is what it is. And Louisville C take their first loss as a team since Week 8 of the fall 2023 season.
Wow, that's a really long time ago, man, for real. I'm just glad that I struck out Jordan twice. That was the highlight of the day for me in that game. And obviously things...
We're giving up the 12 runs before.
Yeah, that is true. It's an improvement from last season, which is fine.
Well, he
Anyway,
didn't pitch last season. You need the space
no,
helmet back. We need the space helmet back for you. I think that's when you were pitching your best.
that's probably what you need to do. Bring the space suit back and just throw pitches, because that obviously seemed to work because it had a 0 ERA last season, and now we're here. Well, speaking of which, kind of in review of the week one stuff for Ilioso OC, since we're on the topic, obviously, Stephen Hayden doing his thing on his side of things. 438 average, 3 home runs to start off the 2 games. Justin, not too bad hitting wise, some good stuff there. 6 hits, 3 singles, 1 home run. Got up the cycle off against the Avocados in that first game. And then the other big thing is Dominic Carone definitely stepping up on his offensive side of things. 3 home runs to start off the season. 8 hits in 2 games, which is a great start for Dominic, and a great sign for the OC if we're looking to, replace some of that hitting prowess that Jordan had with the squad. Dominic stepping up is big means for a team like the OC for sure.
Well, I mean, you mean 8 hits in 1 game for Dominic. Unfortunately, he didn't get a hit in the second game, but I mean, we'll still we still have a good lineup. The main thing is just going to be that second pitcher, and is the offense gonna be able to do its job around Steven and things like that. We'll see how things go. I know Austin Cutter was a little frustrated with how things went, but he came in for the second game and going against a team we'll talk about later with two of the better pitchers, and it seems that Tyler's gotten even better from the previous couple of seasons. But overall, it's not a bad loss for the Wolves. We'll see, and Beach City Bombers are on their way, but we'll see what happens with both these teams.
Yes, sir. Now, moving on to the final game of Week 1 for the Orange League. It would be the debut of Whoosh this season, who have added Anthony Agrusa to the squad, who came over from Shepherd's Pie after that team disbanded. Went over to Whoosh to kind of become that 6th person on that team as well. And Pitches Gone Wild being their second game of this week. And they're also trying to look for a bounce back after taking a big loss to Trash Pandas. A little bit closer, they managed to get 12 runs on Whoosh, but unfortunately wasn't enough to get over Whoosh's offensive ability. They get 19 runs in total, so they take this one in their first game of the season, 19-12 over the Pitches Gone Wild.
Yeah, it was a better sign to see here from the Pitches Gone Wild. They were able to get some offense going, able to get some home runs against Whoosh, against the likes of Anthony Agrusa, Mike Sigler, and Owen Schur, Donald LeCompte. They were able to score runs against all 4 of those pitchers. However, the offense of Whoosh was too much in this one, especially for that first week of the Pitches Gone Wild playing out here. Eight home runs overall in this game, including 3 people had multiple home runs. A lot of hits overall. A lot of guys on base, and things like that. So Whoosh off to a good start. We'll see how long Whoosh is able to maintain that. And we'll see how when Pitches Gone Wild is able to come back and be able to put some wins on the board.
Absolutely. We know them very well. Obviously, pretty much everybody on that squad of Whoosh. They obviously came away with the World Series Division II record award last season in that playoff bracket, and they get that little bat trophy, basically. And they come in here looking for a chance here as well. And once we get to the standings in just a second, this also kind of helps them in those standing pictures. But obviously, a good game here, and Anthony being a part of this squad is also a big deal, especially if they want an extra arm in terms of the pitching side of things for that team. So, good victory here, but definitely want to see them against another good contender, kind of to see where their projected place is going to be down the road against a lot of these other big high-powered teams, such as Trash Pandas, such as LOSOC, such as Beach City Bombers. So it'd be interesting once we get to week 2, we get to see a better picture of what that would look like for Whoosh and their squad as well.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how things shake out overall in the Orange division. Now that we've gone through all these teams that have played so far, they've all played in week one. A lot of these teams with doubleheaders.
Certainly will. Well, that does it for week one for the Orange League. Purple League, now we'll get to right now and just give you a little bit of a preview of those teams. Pancake Batters are back. Beach City, now they're called the Babes, apparently, instead of the Dingers. And the Sheeps are also have returned. Unfortunately, the Glizzy Gladiators are not returning for this season, including a couple of other teams that are not returning for this season. So it is just down to 3 teams for the Purple League. It kind of was like this for the fall season. I think it was just 3 teams for the Purple League in the fall season. Same 3 teams here. Obviously, a couple different teams as well. But let's kick it off with the first game in the Pancake Batters and the Sheeps. This game, 17-1, the final score. Sheeps take the loss. Pancake Batters get the win in this first game for the Purple League.
Yeah, a big score here. Pancake Batters able to get this year started off the way they wanted to. I'm sure. Six home runs combined in this game, including Chad French hitting 3 and Adrian Garcia hitting 2 here. Just in general, just a lot of people getting on base, and unfortunately for the Sheeps, not their best game, could not get the bats going or anything like that. But overall, we'll see what keeps happening. This could be the year of the Pancake Batters. You never know. It's going to be very interesting to see if this is the year that if this is the season that they get it done. They've been the only team to be here for all 3 seasons of the Purple League, and it'll be very interesting to see if they're able to pull it off.
It certainly will be. Obviously, the team that won it last season was against the Glizzy Gladiators in the Beach City Dingers. They played their game actually against the Sheeps in this next edition. And I apologize, not Beach City Dingers anymore. I guess they're called the Beach City Babes. Doesn't matter, same thing. The Sheeps take another loss in their first week of play. 4-10 was the final score for in this game. Beach City Dingers get started off the right way after winning their title for the Purple League last season.
Yeah, they were able to bounce back off of that and come with a victory here. A lot of good amount of offense, especially from guys like Will Contrell and Aaron Patterson. Able to get things going here. Will Control was the Purple League Player Male of the Year the previous season. We'll keep seeing where this league goes. They play each other a lot of times, so a whole lot of games. So I never know how this could shake out. It could just be one bad week for the Sheeps, but who knows?
Yeah, it could be just a bad week, but always enough time to bounce back. It is just early. Week 1 is always just kind of a question mark for some teams out there, especially when you're talking about being this early in the season. So there's always the only way to go is up, basically. So in terms of the format for the Purple League, I know we talked about it before we started talking about Week 1 stuff, but top 2 teams make it to the playoffs, and that looks like it'd just be basically the World Series. A little bit different than what we've seen in the past, where you have the 3 teams make it in. One team gets like a bye basically, and then the 2 teams that are contending would play a 1-game playoff game, and then whoever won that would move on to the World Series. Best of 3 for the Purple League, so a little bit different here. Obviously, they're just going to have to fight each other to get into the top 2 seedings of the Purple League, essentially.
Yeah, it seems to be that way. So we'll see how things shake up at the end of the year. One week is not going to determine how a team does. I might play some implications, but these 3 teams have played each other a lot of times. So we'll see how things shake out.
Yes, sir. In terms of the Orange League, look at those standings just a little bit. I'll start off with the bottom. In the 8th spot, you got Pitches Gone Wild with 2 losses, obviously, like we talked about earlier. Just at the 7th seed currently is the OC Juicers 0-2. LA Wilsa OC 0-1. They still need to finish that game with Avocados like we talked about earlier. So that'll also help him in the seeding once that game is finished. OC Wiffles of LA 1-1 to start off here in the 5th spot. Avocabras in the fourth spot with 1-0. We talked about them a little bit as well. And then Whoosh at the third spot with the one victory, no losses, including Beach City Bombers, who are the second seeded team. 1 win, 0 losses there. And the Trash Pandas being the top dog currently right now after week 1 results. They're standing up there with 2 victories and 0 losses. And that is what that week 1 picture looks like to start off this season so far. So, Steven, what are your thoughts in general about this? What are you kind of looking at in terms of projection-wise so far? I know it is early, but do you have any kind of ideas, thoughts, wonderings, or confusion about, what we're looking at so far in this very first week 1? What do you see going on down the road, basically?
Yeah, it's still very early to try to tell some of this, but a lot of it for week 1 is kind of based off the matchups that you have. For example, I think the LOs we'll see are better than the 6th team in the Orange League, to be quite honest. But I just happen to have a matchup versus the Beach City Bombers in week 1, which is the only one that counts on the standings at this point. As mentioned many times, the Avocabras has not been input yet because that game is not finished. And so I could see them moving up by the end of the year, as well as the Osiosville. I think they could be moving up, but it's still very early to tell with these teams. I think those top 2 are relatively established up there. I think they'll be the 2 kind of battling back and forth for that one spot with the Trash Pandas and the Beach City Bombers. So it's all about just filling out that other stuff, and then who's able to come out on top. In terms on the bottom, I should say, in terms of the rest of the standings. But I think a lot of that will be determined as the year goes on.
Certainly will be. I know we typically see it in the past. We've seen Plastic Pitches, who were MS Warriors and Purple Huskies. They usually dominate the first 2 seeds. Obviously, they walked away a season ago. Winter season was a little bit different. We had Iwasa OC and pretty much the Trash Pandas sitting up at the top 2 seeds. Currently, right now, Trash Pandas and Beach City Bombers are sitting up at the top 2 seeds. They're looking like they might be those household powerhouse teams at the top 2 seeds, and then obviously maybe the 3rd and the 4th seed would be the ones where most of these teams are kind of fighting for that wild card, basically, if they want to get into the Division 1 picture. But it is a little bit of a consolation as well, as if you don't do as well as you think you did in this season. Once we get down later in the road, you still have equal opportunity to basically get a Division 2 title if that's where you end up being in. So this is going to be very interesting where all these teams kind of end up. And I think a lot of these, every single team is basically fighting for a playoff spot, and they get equal opportunity to get a chance to get a title, basically, with this Orange League, rather than what we've done in the past, where we've had Division 1 and Division 2, but we know we had a lot more teams that season. So this season definitely being a little bit different than what we've seen in years past.
Yeah, very, very interesting year for sure. We'll see how this year shakes up as we go along, but yeah.
Yes, sir. So after being a part of this week 1, you definitely matched up against Jordan Drexler. So far, what are your thoughts about him being moved over to Beach City Bombers in this case? After losing a teammate like that, what are you kind of looking at to kind of adjust things now with the absence of Jordan Drexler not being a part of the Iwasa OC? And where do you see this team kind of going in terms of, especially with Tommy Hernandez being an addition? Obviously, we're going back to the times when Justin would pitch in the games, and hopefully it doesn't turn out to be a case where it's just mostly walks for the most part. But improving on that side of the pitching. But how do you see this kind of direction going for this team?
Yeah, so after that podcast, I found out this was actually not a prank. I found out this was something that they were kind of planning behind my back, and and then Jordan just decided to not tell anybody. He apparently told you the morning of, but he didn't tell me until live on a podcast. So I was genuinely thinking that was a joke. But overall, that first week was kind of weird in general. going against Jordan. I we did have a lot of success against him. With him only getting one hit in the game, that being a home run. Other than that, I think he struck out his other 5 or 6 at bats. We were able to shut him down pretty good, but overall with this one, Jordan not being here is definitely a little different. I've been able to help him develop and lead him into a lot of different directions in terms of pitching and hitting and things like that. And I think I've helped him improve a lot. And then for him to leave like that and try to instill some of those stuff I taught him is a little weird to me. It's a little disappointing that he wants to try to spread that personal knowledge to other people. But because I was hearing some of it as it goes along. But I know he talked about on that podcast as well. He still feels like he feels like my team, the other was supposed to see are the top team, and he wants to feel like that he's got a chance, that he's got a feeling that there's a possibility they may lose, which I personally never agreed with. Him going over there kind of created the opposite in my mind, at least. But he can tell himself what he wants to, I guess. But for the other, we'll see in general. This is going to be a little bit more of a developmental season for us. It's going to be figuring some stuff. It's going to be figuring some stuff out. Teaching guys like Tommy how to pitch in this league, and Justin back adjusted to this league. That first game was a rough one for him. But that second game, there were some improvements in there. So we'll see how things shake out. It should be very interesting. But might have to take a Herculean effort for them to go out with the World Series this year. But we'll see what happens. Overall, I am disappointed that Jordan did leave, but I can't do anything about it right now. We'll see what happens in the future when Jordan comes back.
Yeah, I know one of the conversation pieces about that as well was about just trying to make the league a little bit more competitive. I know that can be taken in a couple different ways when you look at it, especially when you do, in a way where it's, like I'm on a podcast, you guys haven't talked about it prior to or anything like that. I can understand that. I know there obviously, isn't supposed to be bad blood in this case for exactly what happened. And I know you guys definitely talked it out afterwards in that case. So hopefully nothing too bad was lost there. And I know he wants to definitely come back eventually at some point, whether he feels like it's time to come back or whatnot. But I know in the past, especially this previous season, the LA Wizards, he definitely dominated in many aspects of Division One, and it definitely does suck when two teams like the Plastic Pitches, and I'm talking about MS Warriors and Purple Huskies, leave, and the league kind of misses that big piece that they've kind of had for some time with the competitiveness and kind of things. The balance tips more like this way, one more up here, less the other teams kind of down here, but obviously they want to bring it back to an even type of scale. But that's another conversation for a different day. Going back a little bit to that spring season in particular, when Jordan first came to the team, it was kind of like a developmental year in that case as well, especially for Jordan. The league is changing. People are throwing different pitches. I know Jordan wanted to figure out be part of a team that wanted to win a title. So I think the best way to kind of look at it is, develop some of these newer guys, especially myself. I got to develop my arm a little bit more and try to, do as much as I can to basically hit the zone rather than, missing it and giving up a lot of walks. But, after striking Jordan out twice, I had a little bit more confidence than I did back then when I wasn't pitching, or when I was pitching in that case. But I think it's, new year, new things are happening. I don't think it's a downturn for us. We still have the ability to put some good offense on, and I think the direction is definitely going to be a positive one. If not, make the playoffs is a win. Making it to the World Series is a double win, but I think just having a successful season is a good win enough rather than, having such a high expectation that we're going to be the World Series team every single year, especially when, Jordan has moved on to a different team for now, and now you have a couple of new other guys that need to step up and do their part to help this team get back to where they usually are or should be in that regards.
Yeah, and just overall with this, Jordan's not the. People are allowed to. I'm not saying people aren't allowed to leave and stuff. It's just the. Well, I had long conversation with Jordan about it and things like that. But overall, I'm not the most mad at Jordan for all of this. There's another person involved in this who was real shady in this and kind of it really went behind my back. I'm not gonna go any further into this on here, but. Overall, it is what it is. For our team, we're just gonna have to find a way. I think we're capable of it. It's just we're just gonna have to go find a way to be able to get it done. We had a close game with him the first week. I think it was a good sign. I think a little bit more offense from the team would have made it a little closer. Obviously, but I think just getting the hitting down a little better and having more consistent hitting in some bigger innings. Can lead to some more success for us, but we'll see what happens as things move on.
Yeah, certainly will. And backtrack to that spring season, we weren't exactly that team that was expected to really make it that far, anyways, and just had to find a will to win. And that's exactly what happened in that spring season. But I'm not saying that's what's going to happen this spring season. But the scripters can decide whether that is a true thing or not. When that time comes.
Even the fall season, we weren't expected to win. It was just we were able to upset a team, and the Trash Pandas had a big upset versus the Purple Huskies in the first round as well, and then ended up leading us to that one. Even in the winter season, people say we didn't. We kind of didn't make the league fun. We were just the most overpowered team. We didn't. Yes, we did win every game. We weren't like dominating every team in every game, though. We would have some close games in there, and a couple games we had to come back and things like that. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a situation where it's like we just ran over the whole league. It was absolutely not that at all. And I want to make sure people don't get that misconception that overall we just didn't that we just ran through the league and just won every single game as convincingly as possible. Some games were better than others, and some games were extremely close. I remember we had a game versus the Beach City Bombers. Going to the fifth inning, we were losing 2-0, and then we picked up some home runs and we were able to come away with a victory there. But overall, that was clearly not the case. So I never truly understood the whole point of trying to make the league competitive. When it already was competitive in the first place, and I knew with some subtractions, I did know Dustin Staggs was not going to come back for the spring season, so it was just about having conversations about stuff. And unfortunately, before the podcast, there were no conversations said about anything. So it is what it is, and we move on. We try, and Louis was are going to. In this adjustment period for this season, we're gonna try to adjust and make our team better for this season and for the summer season when Jordan comes back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is very true. And I wanted to bounce back off that point as well. I know we had a game against Bad News Bears, who were a Division II team that winter season. That game, I think a lot of people usually predict that those games would be, Division I team dominates a Division II team. I mean, that wasn't really the case. That game was a lot closer. I think both of you and I were thinking like that game definitely was a lot closer than we thought it was going to go. And that's just kind of how things kind of went that way. And that's usually what happens. And that's another point to it wasn't really like we were dominating every single team. If we were dominating every single team, we'd be talking about it in the podcast, talking about like how we finished the game in 4 innings, mercy rule type of thing. That is considered domination. We didn't dominate in every single week in those games. So you brought up a good point there. about that winter season in particular. So definitely enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, people have their own conceptions of what they think, and unfortunately, I can't stop that. But all I can do is show you show the proof and show the facts of what happened. But it is what it is what it is. When you win three World Series like that, people are gonna kind of look badly on you, and it is what it is. Right? We accept the fact that we work closely and help out a lot with the league as well. It is what it is. What it is. People can think what they want, but we're just being honest. And if we were dominating the league like every week and stuff like that, I would be I would totally agree with that. But I didn't think that was the case. There were some close games in there. There were some games that I thought we had a chance of losing, but in the end we did end up coming out victorious, finishing that undefeated season and being that first ever number one seed. At these 15 seasons of running a football league, it was the first time a one seed has ever won the World Series. So that's also extremely rare for him, just to have that one seed win in general.
Yeah.
But it's. I mean, just because that fact alone doesn't make it that case, but it is what it is. People kind of think what they want, and at the end of the day, we're just gonna go out there. We're gonna play some good ball. We're gonna have to adjust this season without Jordan and Dustin there. I got to work on Tommy and make sure he's gonna be good. Prove with Justin, and then make sure the bats are there in case we have a bad pitching game like we did versus the Avocados.
Yeah, certainly. So that's something we have to look forward to as we get through this preseason. So a lot more ball to play for sure. I want to kind of cover some of the schedule going forward just a little bit here. If you're looking at the spring 2024 schedule in particular, you can find this on the website as well, actually. Week 2 is next week, obviously. The week after that, it looks like we have a week off on January 30th week. Including March 12th week, we have games off of there.
We'll see about this week. As recording this on a Saturday, it has started to rain. It's going to be raining for the next few days. I think there's a good chance there's not going to be any games on Tuesday. If you're having talks with it for baseball, we might not have any practices from Monday to Wednesday on the field. So just watch that and keep that in mind for Tuesday. Just keep an eye on your emails and stuff like that to see if there are actually games going on this coming Tuesday.
Are you happy that you don't have you potentially don't have practice?
It just means we're going indoors. So
okay, good answer. I was trying to put you on the spot in front of Dylan if he's watching this.
He's not watching this.
I know he's not.
Why would he watch this?
Yeah, so I'm wondering in that case, because I know you've kind of helped with predicting some of the schedule stuff, would that mean if these games are rained out, would they move the games to the Tuesday week after for week 2? If that's the case, that would happen here, or would he just basically add more games to the rest of the schedule going down the road here?
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you, to be honest. I don't make the schedule.
Okay.
Things like that. That's entirely up to him. That would make the most sense. Although with some stuff, who knows what ends up happening. It could be a field issue where there are no fields available on the 30th or the 12th. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm not entirely sure as of right now what's going to happen. We got to wait to see, make sure we can play this Tuesday. First off, so once we get closer to that, and Anthony either gives the yes or the no on whether we're gonna play, then we can figure all that stuff out.
For sure. Schedules will come out for week 2 pretty much tomorrow, depending on whether the decision is made or not. On what happens there with the inclement weather and all those details. And then obviously the playoffs are coming up. We don't have it on Thursday or Friday like we did last season. It'll just be back to kind of the regular way that we usually did things before, which is the Monday and then the Tuesday following. that Monday, so April 1st and 2nd. So make sure you mark your calendars. I almost made that mistake last season, and I think it will be our duty to kind of remind everybody once we get closer to that time as well. And then obviously summer season won't start for a little bit as well. We had some issues with the fall season, the winter season being back to back. So you get a little bit of time to kind of rest a bit before the summer season. But obviously that's looking a little forward and ahead advance, but that's just kind of a heads up on what we're looking forward to this 2024 with the spring and summer season. Yeah, well,
I don't know what to add there.
I guess we got nothing. Okay, all right, cool. Well, anyways, I think we're basically at
the schedule is the schedule.
It is. I guess we're at the end of our program, basically. Yeah, got nothing else to talk about. Well, I mean, pretty much covered what we need to here on episode 38. We'll see what happens with week 2 in that regards, and try to maybe eventually get another guest on here. I know maybe this is a good time to start bringing some people on our show once again, like we did a year ago. And if Steve has got nothing else to say, I think we're good to go to move on to episode 39, which would be the next one.
Yeah, we're going to continue to be out there. There'll be more stuff coming out with OC Wiffle Ball, with other Wiffle Ball around and things like that. Things are starting to heat up in some other leagues. Actually, I think by the time this podcast is out, there may be a video online of us of OC Wiffle Ball playing in a final. But that one will have to be linked if that is the situation. I'm not totally sure on that, but I think that may be the case where there could be you could see guys like me and Justin and James Lee and Tommy Hernandez playing against some of the better wiffle ball players around. So if that is the situation, Justin will put that picture and link in now. Hopefully he actually puts it in there this time, because we've had some issues where he doesn't put them in, but
I put in the videos from last week.
What?
I put the videos in from last week. Those were there.
I'm talking about the situation from 2 weeks, from 2 podcasts ago. But
I'm sorry. My apologies. Okay, I'll make sure I'll put it in. If that's the case, then it'll come out.
If it's in, I'm not totally sure yet, but things are starting to heat up with that. And other than that, go Westcliff. We're getting going. We start games this Friday. Our first official games versus Hope. Hope International University in at Hope Stadium, so it should be fun there. Other than that, just be ready. We'll see if we play this Tuesday or not. Got to see, and got to depend on the weather and what the Ray Park says, because they will close the fields early. So we gotta wait to see what they say.
Yeah, definitely will. So check your emails, captains, and all you wiffle ball people out there. That announcement obviously will be coming out very shortly at some point. But this has been Justin Lee and Stephen Hayden for that Scuffed Up, and we shall see you guys in the next episode 39. We shall see you guys next time. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day. Go back up.